Good evening, everybody. I'm your host, Mr. A. Welcome to the set. Happy Sunday. It's the end of the weekend, and we are here. I hope everybody enjoyed themselves. I myself got to get out of the house with my wife and a few family members. Had a good time. Whew. Been a crazy week, but a nice weekend. Very eventful. A lot of things happening, especially in the country and around the world. But what we're going to do is we're going to give it a second. We are going to allow some people to come into the room. I have a great guest. Today is Mighty Healthy Part 2. And I hope everybody's ready to really hear some great information and hear a story about a young man who has had an amazing journey. So when I start seeing people show up in the room, just give a salute and then we will start the show. I am so glad that Mr. Busta Rhymes was able to release his album. We're going to talk about that briefly. Oh, we also have future shows coming up. As you know, Wednesday, November 4th at 7:30 p.m., Sunset Park's own singer and actress, Jeannie Soul, will be on the set. Follow that by Sunday, November 8th at 7:30 p.m., artist James Squatch Joyce, Brooklyn-born, Connecticut's own James Squatch Joyce will be on the show. Then Sunday, November 15th at 7:30 p.m., let's talk about cannabis with Chef Swan and Mark Alfinez. I hope everybody is going to be tuning in for all those shows. Miss Jeannie Soul has been in the game for quite some time, and I'm really ecstatic to continue to pay tribute and homage to the people from my neighborhood. Good evening, Miss Reyes. The people from my neighborhood who did things in our life and that everybody from the neighborhood knows and recognizes. Also, James Joyce, a.k.a. Squatch, rapper, entertainer, artist, born in Brooklyn. He transplanted to Connecticut. Amazing entertainer and artist. Has a great ability in lyricism, and I can't speak any more about this gentleman. His music is tight, and I can appreciate originality and specifically lyricism. So if you want, go onto YouTube and check out James Joyce or James Squatch Joyce. You can find his content on YouTube. And on Sunday, November 15th, we're going to have the talk about cannabis with Chef Swan and Mark Alfinez. Chef Swan had a show called High End Cooking. They've been on hiatus. Other endeavors have been taken. So Chef Swan has put that to the side for the moment, but the episodes are still up. He goes around the globe cooking with cannabis. Amazing show. And Mark Alfinez is a retired Army veteran. He moved to Florida, and he had entered the cannabis trade or business. He's now in, I believe, a manager's position, and he's opening locations. Highly intelligent, well-informed, and educated in cannabis. So we're going to bring those two together to bring information to our audience. So I hope everybody could watch that. And with that being said, let's start the show. Good evening, everybody. Happy Sunday. I'm your host, Mr. A. Welcome to the set. Tonight, we are going to have a gentleman on the show by the name of Julian, the Thundercat Ansah. Julian is a young man who's been in training in Muay Thai for 4 to 5 years. He's had quite a few fights, and I just want to bring him on to speak about his journey. He is also an athlete. He played for Curtis High School football. I understand he played offense and defense. So we'll also be touching about that, and then we'll touch on subjects about how he's doing in COVID and what he's doing to stay in shape, how the school where he trains is faring during this time, and how things are going just basically all the way around. But I think everybody will be getting some solid information and understanding about what it means to train in Muay Thai, the benefits, especially for children and women specifically. Women, if you don't know, ladies, if you don't know, the strongest part of your body besides your brain is your legs. So if you're in at any point wanting to train in martial arts, I would advise you to do a little research about Muay Thai because it is amazingly beneficial for women. So, with that being said, let me just make a few announcements and then we'll get Mr. Julian in the show. Let me just share this really quick. So, as I was saying, Busta Rhymes. I mean, I couldn't I couldn't have picked for a better moment for this album to be released. The music is amazing. It is definitely a throwback to the golden era of the 90s. Busta exudes hip hop, his lyrical ability, his cadences, the features that he has an amazing lineup on this album. If you haven't heard it, which I doubt anybody's missed it yet, he has a joint with Kendrick that's crack. He has a joint with MOP. It's sort of a little throwback to the Annie Up joint. It's fire. He has one with Old Dirty, doing his chorus. The beat and the bass line is just everything about it is just New York City hip hop. So if you haven't heard it, I feel sorry for you because again, amazing, amazing album. Excuse me. Also, just be fairly warned, as you all know, I'm shooting the show from home. The Wawas are here, so if somebody passes by or a car honks their horn, my dogs might start barking. So I hope everybody bears with me. So let me also share this with you. Before I bring our guest on, I just wanted to show you a little bit about him. Here we go. So Julian's been training for quite some time, and he puts in solid work. We're talking about 4 to 5 years. One of the things I really enjoyed and respect about what he does is he never forgets about the kids. And you see him here training with Colin, just patient, puts his time in to give back. And as you can see, this little boy is getting sharp. This is from October 2019. It's been a year. That kid's grown a little bit, but you have to respect gentlemen like this that not only dedicate themselves to their sport and their craft, but always remember to give back, that kids are important. So here you see Julian dedicating his time to give back to his school, and not only that, to the youth, which is super important. Also, let's show a little clip of Julian fighting here. The man is tremendous. He has the stature, he has the build, he has the great training, all the makings and team behind him to support and bring him to the next level. And then we'll show this other clip of him just training a little bit in the gym. Always a hard worker. I spent some time in this school, and this gentleman, for all intents and purposes, he's always working and always encouraging others to work and put in hard work. When I got in there were quite a few of us that were there for the right reasons, which was to lose weight and get in shape and get ourselves back to where we needed to be. And I could always remember Julian being very encouraging, always, telling me, hey, you got this, and, just pushing me in the right direction. So, with that being said, let's see. Oh, my guy's back on the phone. Let's see if I could bring in Mr. Julian Ansah. Let me see if I can bring him in right now.
Peace,
Yeah,
brother.
yeah. You're on audio, right?
Yeah, can you see me?
Nah, I can't see you. I can hear you though. The audience can hear you. We could all hear you. We just can't see you.
All right, sorry, y'all. My
No, no, no.
computer's kind of messed up a little
You're
bit.
gonna don't worry about it. You're gonna be a ghost tonight.
Mm.
Um, so Julian, welcome to the show. I know we're gonna have to deal with this little difficulty, but you know what? Let's have this conversation. And I think what's most important is that people hear what you're saying,
Can I
and
try
they get
something real
your.
quick? I'm sorry. Can I try
Sure,
something
sure,
real quick?
sure.
Give me
Go
one
ahead.
second.
Sure. So Mr. Julian is having a little issue. Um, I see him here. At the set, there's always something going on, and it doesn't matter because we put the show together, we make it happen one way or another, and that's it. So bring it back. Let's go.
All
There you
right, there
go.
we go.
Oh, you
Can
look.
you hear me?
See, yeah, everything's good. How you doing,
Can you
sir?
hear me?
Yeah, I
I
can
can't
hear
hear
you.
you.
You can't hear me.
Nah,
You ain't got headphones.
this was for my phone. Hold on a second.
You can't plug it into your computer.
Audio.
You can hear me now.
Mm,
Audio has to go out through the speakers.
I'm trying to.
People, please be patient. This is a conversation that I've been wanting to have with this young man for quite some time. Finally got him, and we're running into roadblocks. Let's try again. Can you hear me?
You hear me? Yeah.
You can't hear me, right?
Nah.
Hold up. Don't move. Don't
All right.
move. All right, people. I'm gonna try to walk him through this. Is your audio? Can it go?
Okay, I can hear you now.
You can hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Oh,
That was my
all
fault.
right.
My
No,
bad,
no.
Joe.
Things happen.
Yeah.
So, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Julian Thundercat Ansah, welcome to the set. How are you doing, sir?
I'm fine, sir. First of all, thank you for having me. I
Of
appreciate you
course.
having me on your show, man. It's a pleasure.
Thank you so much. Trust me, you and I have been talking about this for quite some time, and I felt like this is a needed conversation, not only for yourself, but for the audience, because there's a lot of things that I want you to share with them. So I'm glad you're here. So, first things first, at what point in time did you discover Muay Thai? How did that all come to fruition for you?
Um, I discovered Muay Thai, I want to say, when I was about 19. I was at a crossroads in my life where I was finishing football, which was my primary infatuation as far as sports goes, and I just needed something to, keep me in in line and keep me out of trouble. So I started off doing taekwondo actually. I was in this small taekwondo class at one of my job sites called True to Life with Minister Dale. He's a Sabanum, which is a level under Grand Master. And I was doing it, and I was like the biggest dude. I was a 19-year-old in a class full of 5 and 4-year-olds. So you can imagine how that was. And I did that for a while until I was like, I gotta find something that's a little more real, a little more my speed. And then, I was Googling around and I
Mm-hmm.
came across Staten Island Muay Thai on Google and I
Mm-hmm.
gave Coach Vinny Scotto a call and I just walked in there one day and the rest was history. I loved it from the beginning.
All right, I'm gonna pick a few things from what you said. Well, first of
Cool.
all, salute to Vinny Scotto, Coach Vinny, Coach Manny, Nathan. Uh, there's so many guys I want to shout out from the school because
Right.
they're just great guys. Salute to SIMT. I know they changed their name. As you can see, I got their hat on. As
Word.
always, paying homage.
Now
Great
Legion.
place.
We
Now
still always serve
Legions.
FIMT though.
Yes, sir. So let me go back. So you said you needed something to keep you out of trouble.
Absolutely.
So what was your social your social life out of school? What was that like? Were you getting involved in, you know, things that you maybe shouldn't have?
Yeah. So my social life out of school throughout a lot of middle school and basically the entirety of my high school career was I don't want to say it was the best one. Like I didn't surround myself with the most straight and narrow characters, and that affected my academic aspirations tremendously. I cut school a lot, and I hanged out with people who were not into the right things, and I didn't. No, I'm not gonna say that. I experienced a lot in high school, and it influenced my mindset as a young adult, and it helps me. It helps and motivates me today. I made a lot of mistakes in high school that ultimately affected my football career because, as I said before, I played football, but because I was in the streets doing what I shouldn't be doing, running the streets. When it came time to graduate, my grades were just so abysmal that I couldn't pursue anything as far as football goes on a higher level. So, Muay Thai definitely saved me from going back down that path because it gave me an opportunity to vent my frustrations in a positive way. Because after my football career ended, I was very lost again. I was lost before I found Muay Thai, but after my football career ended, it was just like I honestly didn't know what I wanted to do as far as like life or academic aspirations. I wanted to go to college strictly for football. I didn't want to go to college for anything that had anything to do with education. So Muay Thai saved me tremendously.
People, I want you to really. I hope everybody just digested what Julian just said. It takes a level of maturity for a gentleman in his age bracket, especially nowadays, to be able not only to recognize where he went wrong, but to be able to enunciate and put it out on the table and feel no shame about what he did because he reconciled it by taking his life in another direction. And that spews and tells that this gentleman has character. He's somebody that has integrity. And that's something that I respect. This is something you can feel when you meet Julian in person. He's a man of integrity. So just take note of that, people.
Thank you, bro.
Of course. So you live, eat, slept football. That's what you wanted to do. You really didn't look past anything. This is what motivated you every day.
Right.
And you find yourself in this space where there's a void.
Right.
And by I'm going to say sheer luck, you find Muay Thai.
Right.
So you went to SIMT when it was in the garage?
No, I found SIMT when it was at its location now.
Okay.
It's actually a coincidence. I had actually called Vinny Scotto way before I actually walked through the doors. So, just to backtrack a little bit, I started when I was 19 officially, but I think I actually officially called him when I was 17.
Wow.
He may or may not remember this, but I remember this clear as day. I called him, and I was the typical casual that calls a martial arts gym, like, "Yo, can you help me get to the UFC?" Blah 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 blah. And he was like, "Can't help you get to the UFC, but I can teach you some good Muay Thai." And I stewed on that for a minute. And when it came time to make my final selection for a martial arts gym, he was the number one contender, I guess you could say. And it was my first official martial arts gym, and I'm pretty sure it's going to be my last. I feel very lucky that I found Staten Island Muay Thai.
let me ask you a question. When you entered training, right? Because everybody goes for a specific reason. Some people get in early enough, and they start out with one reason and it evolves, right? Because they start very young.
Right.
Some people get there a little later, and they're really not. I don't know, whatever.
Right.
But you happen to go at a time where you were already an athlete. It wasn't like you were out of shape. You had the motivation. You had discipline, some semblance of discipline, because you lost football, but you still had the desire to be in a structured environment training.
Right.
So at what point does the light go off in your head and you say, you know what, I want to fight? Like, how long does it take to you from start to where you have like this desire in your, like an innate feeling, like, you know what, I want to get in the ring?
That's a great question. So for me personally, I always have been a competitor. So the moment I decided I wanted to get into martial arts, I always knew I wanted to get in it for real, and I always knew I wanted to fight. I had a very in-depth infatuation with the UFC. I around the time that Conor McGregor started his rise, that's when he captured my attention. And then when I seen other athletes that I felt like were similar to me, that's when I felt like I could step on that grand stage with them. So from the moment I stepped into Vinny Scotto's gym, I knew I wanted to fight. I actually told him I just wanted to know like what it took, and I didn't fully understand what it took at first, but I definitely knew I wanted to fight. And beyond that, like I said, my upbringing, my background, just to keep it funky with you, I came from the hood, born and raised in Brighton, so I always had this association with fighting that it was a possibility. And if I was going to engage in that type of activity, I wanted to be proficient, especially if I was going to walk around my neighborhood saying I knew martial arts. If I was going to say that, I had to be official. You feel me? So from day one, I knew I wanted to fight. From day one, I want to step in that ring.
I'm glad you brought that up because it's something that we've had many conversations about, even with my son. You know Elijah.
Yeah.
I've always told Elijah, you've lived a different life in a different environment. I grew up in Brooklyn. He was born and raised in Staten Island. He was a stage kid. We didn't have to. So my thing to him was, I said, listen, if you're gonna go in and learn the martial arts or learn some sort of, he's learned a little boxing or whatever, but I said, this is the best form because it's going to season you for getting hit, right? Muay Thai is contact, and and I'm not gonna say I don't know if brutal is the right word, but I think it's suitable because the training is brutal.
Right.
If you go in out of shape and you're not really eating right and taking care of yourself, and you have to jump rope for 10 minutes, it sounds like nothing, right?
Until you got to do it.
Until you got to do it, right? But what I always pointed out to him was, if you have a fight in the street, you're going to be fighting 90% of the dudes untrained, and you're trained. So when you said, in the street, if I had to, get into it, you knew you was going to get into a fight. Do you think that this, out of all the martial arts that are being taught nowadays, do you think that Muay Thai is like at the top or near the top when it comes to use in the real world for people?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. If it's not the number one, it's absolutely top three. It's absolutely top three. I always tell all my friends who inquire about Muay Thai and my martial art, who ask questions similar to yours, in reference to a street fight, I always say that the weapons that Muay Thai equips you with, the typical person, the average street fighter, is simply not going to be aware of. They're not going to see it coming. They're not even going to know most of the time that it's coming their way. As you know, Muay Thai, we have 8 weapons that we primarily use, and the average street fighter is only aware of 4 of them. In this case, those are your fists and your feet. And in the case of the feet, it's usually when you're stomping on them. So the average street person is just not gonna be ready for what a martial artist of the Muay Thai caliber has to offer. It's not even like. That's why I love martial arts so much, and Muay Thai in particular, because it's changed my whole perspective on fighting thus far. Like, I feel like the moment I after, like, me 5 years ago was a totally different person. That's all I can say. Like, martial arts has molded my brain in a whole totally different way.
People, if you're just joining the show, I'm your host, Mr. A. This is The Set, and right now we're having a conversation with Julian, the Thundercat Ansah. Julian is telling us about his journey, where he got his start in Muay Thai, how Muay Thai translates into real-world situations, and the beginnings of what brought him into Muay Thai. I wanted to ask you this, and it's a little askew from the conversation we're having.
Okay.
So your last name is Ansah.
Yes, sir.
Right? Where does that derive from?
So that derives from Africa. That's a traditional African name. Both of my parents are from Ghana, West Africa.
Aha. Okay. So you were born here in America.
Yes, correct.
Okay. Have you ever visited, or have you had family come through, or?
I have had plenty of family come through. My parents visit regularly, but I personally have not been to the motherland.
Okay. Is that something that you want to do at some point?
Absolutely. Sometime soon. Yeah. Absolutely.
I was always fascinated by that. You know how I am. I take to people in different ways, and I observe people in different ways,
Right.
and connecting with brothers and sisters through different avenues. But I especially pinpoint people when they have when they spark my interest in backgrounds, last names, languages, um, diets, and so on.
Right.
But I immediately, when I started reading up on your bio a little bit, I was like, I was always curious about that last name. And then
Right.
the TNDO, is that something that you added?
Yeah, that means take no days off. That's an acronym for that.
Aha. Okay. I like that. That's dope.
Right.
So, so you're in the gym, you find the gym, Vinny takes you, you become a student, you start melding into the classes, and what is your first moment in the gym? Because in every gym you're gonna have a moment where you say, oops, I don't know if I like the way this dude put his hand on me real quick, but I
Right.
can't really respond the way I
Mhm.
want to.
Right.
Can you
Right.
sort of give the audience a little history about those moments? Because a lot of people will shy away from the training because they
Right.
think you're gonna come in and be a punching bag.
Right. So I would definitely love to expound on that. First,
Please.
I want to preview people to my mentality. Um, that particular type of conflict, I didn't shy away from because I knew that I was at a certain point and that I wanted to progress. So whenever I came across someone who I felt was better than me, or I felt they were physically intimidating, and I felt, or for lack of a better term, I felt scared of them, I conditioned myself to be attracted to that. I did not shy away from them. If I felt like you were better than me, or I felt like I was scared of you, I wanted to fight you every day until that feeling was gone. So the perfect example of that person, now I'm saying, was my man Jack. He hasn't been in the gym for a minute. I forgot his last name, but if you've been training at the gym for a while, you know who Jack is. Jack is a big Polish brother. I used to always say Jack is a beast. He was like 225 solid. He was he was the scary dude in the gym. And
Right.
in the inception of my Muay Thai career, he was the scary dude in the gym, and he had everything. He was big, he was muscular, he hit mad hard. Every time he hit you, you felt it. And I remember distinctly thinking like, yo, I'm kind of scared of this dude. But I also always reverted back to that last thought that, this is this is the dude like I'm gonna be sparring with every day because I'm scared of you, just because of that. And
Right.
it became my objective to not only eliminate that fear, but to one day, be able to stand toe to toe with him and earn his respect, which
Mm.
I did throughout the years. I proudly could say, that was a pivotal point in my martial arts career because that was one of the moments that I started to realize that not only could I hang in this field, that I could do anything I put my mind to. So that was one of the first hurdles in my martial arts career, definitely.
Did anybody happen to take notice to that aside yourself? Like, was anybody observing like these interactions with you and Big Boy Jack?
I think Jack did, if anybody, because I remember how it progressed, bro. It really started off as he would beat my ass, and then it went from him beating my ass to now we're kind of fighting. You're not just beating me up no more, like we fighting now. And then
Right.
it went from we're fighting now to all right, now I'm getting the better of you. And I'll never forget there was this one day we were sparring, and he just gave me a look that was so different from any other look. Like he was just so sick of my shit. Like he was just tired. Like he was dead ass tired. And I remember like I was like, yeah, like I'm getting places. I'm getting
Yeah.
places. And then as time went on, Jack, me and Jack are great friends. Despite this being the case, and me feeling this way towards him on the martial arts level, Jack was always a stand-up great brother. He was always very polite and very friendly. And I was great friends with Jack. He's still my great friend. And he would let me know my progression. He would tell me like, yo, you're getting better every time, getting better every time. It's gonna be a coming point in time where I might not, you know, be able to do this with you anymore, So it's
Yeah.
like word. But
I think that this see people if you're just watching the show, Julian is explaining to you a bit of a journey and a bit of time that he had with a fellow student that helped him overcome his fear and not only that build his confidence and his work ethic. So what you need to understand is when you join the school, he's talking about sparring. Not everybody jumps into sparring. What you do is you go and you take classes, and it's specific classes. There's Uh, I'm so
Pad
old that
work,
everything is
partner
slipping my
drills.
mind. Yeah,
Yeah,
pad
pad work,
work.
partner drills. You know,
Uh,
sparring is like the apex. That's the actual.
right,
That's what everybody envisions when they say you do martial arts. That's when we're actually fighting. That's what sparring is. Even though it's not even like that, as you know, Ern, it's much
right.
more playful and controlled than what the average person would think in their mind. But yeah, that's what sparring is.
Yeah, that's when you're ready for that. But when before that even you get to that point, you're taking these classes that are conditioning you and building up your endurance and your confidence in all sorts of different facets of fighting. So you're learning how to punch, you're learning how to throw elbows, throw knees, and kicks. Learning how to switch your hips when you throw a kick for the most impact, learning how to throw a hook so you spin your body with your weight and you're not just, coming around all wild, very controlled and again, conditioning you to the point where you know how to do these things. And again, they translate into the real world. But most importantly, um, I've always promoted Muay Thai, especially to women. There's a lot of females that were in the class when I was there, and they had. I think now there's another fighter that you guys had. I think I forget her name.
My girl Catherine. Shout out to Catherine Grace.
Cat, yeah.
Yeah.
Um, and it was amazing to see these women fight. Right. I
Right.
went to the first smoker that was on 22nd Street in that above the gym spot. You
Yeah.
fought, she fought,
Right.
and I'm seeing this gentleman. I can see his face, and I'm forgetting his name. And I've always talked to him. Short guy, green eyes. He fought. His dad showed up to the fight that day. I think his dad is a retired police officer.
Drew. Talking about
Big
Drew.
yo, shout out to Drew.
Yeah.
Shout
Shout
out
out
to
to
Drew,
Drew.
man. Drew's a good dude.
Word.
And we watched him fight. And it was really amazing to see the different levels of skill set that were coming from the school.
Right.
Right? You had guys that were taking on their first fight. You had a female that was fighting, and you had different levels of the people in the gym that were going into fighting the smoker.
Right.
But how important to you, at least, I'd like to get your understanding. How important do you think a sport, well, I don't want to call it this art, how important do you think it is for females or women or even children for that matter to learn? How important do you think it would be and beneficial to them would it be for them to learn this martial art?
Hmm. The benefits are, in my opinion, immeasurable. Like there's so many benefits that you can't. It's hard to equate. You can't find the type of benefits that you get from practicing Muay Thai or any martial art for that matter. You can't find those benefits in many other things in this world, in my opinion. From the confidence to the awareness of certain things and certain situations, and it gives you options to be able to operate if you're ever in a specific situation. Um, I always say the best way to protect as a man, as a man who is a brother, who has a mother, and who hopes to one day have children, possibly a daughter. I've always speculated on what is the best way to protect our children and to protect our women. And as a man, I feel like the best way to protect your child or to protect your woman is to teach them how to protect themselves. Because in all reality, you cannot be with them every day of every minute of every, you know, all the time. You can't be with them all the time. So if I want to truly protect them at all times, at all costs, I must teach them how to protect themselves. And I feel like that's something that all women should seek to do in this type of society. So yeah, man, the benefits are insurmountable. I always tell my female friends that when you participate in martial arts, my martial arts specifically, it gives you options when you're in a situation where you have to defend yourself. You got options. If someone grabs you here, I can hit him with this, I can hit him with that. And like I said before, the weapons in Muay Thai, they're not going to be expecting it, and they're gonna be very upset when you hit them, with like an elbow or something, and they didn't even see it. So, man, you can't equate the benefits, man, until you get into it and you see what I've seen for myself. It's so hard to explain, but it'll change your life, is what I can say. It'll change your
This
life.
this is what they call the art of eight limbs, correct?
Right. Muay Thai is a martial art that originates from Thailand, and it literally translates to the art of eight limbs. For all our listeners, the eight limbs or eight weapons that we use are our two fists, our two elbows, our two knees, and our two legs for kicking, primarily our shins. And those are the 8 weapons or 8 limbs, so to speak.
And if you ever get caught with an elbow to the face, not
Oh
expecting
man.
it, it's really not going to tickle.
Oh
Or,
man.
or even a knee to the liver.
Oh man. They don't even know. They don't
Yeah,
even know, Big E. They don't even know.
they do not. It is no joke. But
Word.
overall, the benefits for females, for women specifically, I've always felt from the moment that I stepped in there would be immense. And as you touched on in today's society, we got a lot of weirdos running around here. We got a
Right.
lot of just unsavory types.
Right.
And it's direly important, especially now that women take their protection into their hands and
Right.
learn self-defense. I think is direly important.
Right.
Um,
I agree.
so let me ask you this: you've been training for about 4 or 5 years now,
Yeah, 4 or 5 years
right?
now.
So now we're in this position that things are way different. We had this lockdown commence in March. How have you been able to maintain? Let's forget about the road work and shadow boxing and things of that nature. I want to start someplace else. I want to start with mentally, because as a fighter, how do you how do you respond to this moment where you're limited?
Mm.
How do you maintain a solid mental state, a very even keeled, demeanor for yourself, so that you can keep yourself in the best possible mental state to then take on the physical attributes of your training?
Great question, E. Um, I identified early on in this whole process, with the whole coronavirus thing and the lockdown, that this would be the beginning of what would be a marathon, in my opinion. This would
Okay.
be the true test of a martial artist. I'm in a position where I cannot be as active as I would like to be. However, I also understand that this is a situation that is out of my control. So I must stay true to the martial artist game and the martial artist word, and just, engage in this marathon a day in and day out. I can't dwell on what I can't control. All I can do is be grateful that I have access to the things that I have access to. And instead of thinking about, like I said, that which I can't control, I can only dwell on that which I can control. And that's, like you said, even though you said outside of the physical, that's the road work. That's being able to work out where I could work out, when I could work out as much as I can, and being the best I can be every day, because that's what martial arts is about to me. It's a form of self-expression and expressing the best self that you can be. So every day I'm just like, yo, this is a marathon and this is the true test. Like, if I say I'm a real martial artist, this is the time to prove it right now. Right now.
Mm.
Not when it's all lit, not when all the fans is up and I can do what I want to do. When I can't do what I want to do, am I still a martial artist? Am I truly a martial artist? And that's what it's all about for me right now. So gotta just stay true to the game, you feel me?
People, if you're just joining us, this is Mr. A. We are at the set with our guest, Mr. Julian, the Thundercat Ansah. And he just said something it should ring true across the board. Even in relationships, it really doesn't matter when the sun is shining what it's like. It's when the sun is not shining and it's raining and thundering outside, how you respond. And Mr. Thundercat here has been able to maintain and be true to himself by understanding that, you know what? I can't bitch about the bad weather and I can't bitch about being locked down. I got to get it in no matter what. So rain, hail, sleet, or snow, I have to stick to my roots and stick to myself, being true to myself. And he's been able to maintain his form, his physicality, his training. And as you can see, I don't think you didn't put on no weight during this lockdown, huh?
Yo, I stepped on the scale. If there's any promoters watching, I'm 185 solid. I can get to any weight you want. 179, 170, 181. What's up? I'm fit.
Let's speak about that. Your last fight was down in Delaware.
Yes, sir.
How did that go?
So my last fight was a rematch against an opponent I had fought in Delaware previously. Um, I believe it was at 179, and I came in at 177. He was a multiple time champion, and it was actually an interesting situation because we were um we were fighting before this whole lockdown. There was a lot of things I was aspiring to get into, a lot of tournaments and things of that nature that I was trying to get into, a lot of international tournaments I was trying to get into, and we were essentially fighting for the same spot.
Mm.
And this was a rematch. I don't know if I said that, but this was a rematch. I had beat him previously, and he was rematching me, and that was another pivotal moment in my career because that was the first rematch that I engaged in. As I said before, he's a multiple-time champion, and as a competitor, I knew how he was coming the whole way. You know, I assumed that he felt like he was the better man in the previous fight, and that he was coming out to prove that. But I just had to shut it down and show him that I was all the way about that life, and it was up.
Now, people, I'm sure not any of you have seen this fight. I was able to watch the film afterwards. I believe it was afterwards. Julian has an ability to really throw his opponents off in a fight, in that he's so tall, you really don't know where he's going to go. Some fighters that are tall will fight outside. Some fighters that are tall will fight inside. Julian has the ability to take all different avenues and directions when he's in a fight. I feel from an outsider looking in that your abilities are best served from the outside because of your amazing reach and how you get to wind up with your kicks, especially with that switch kick that you have.
Right.
But I've seen in moments in the fights that I've watched or have been privy to watch, I've seen your inside work, and it's pretty dangerous given that you're so tall. You're able to hit fighters in areas that they're really not able to defend in certain points.
Right.
And with that said, what is your preferred style? Are you somebody that likes to brawl, or do you really dig in deep and get mentally into the fight and learning, all right, this is his distance, this is what he likes to throw, I can time him, and really dissect an opponent in that vein?
Another great question. I would like to say that my fighting style is adapting ever so much, right? So at that particular point in time, that was the path to victory that I had to take. I had a particular game plan, and to be honest with you, it was my game plan to stay on the outside and to strike with him a little bit more instead of engaging with the clinch. However, I've noticed that I tend to adapt to the situation. I like to go with the flow. However, ideally, I would, in any given situation, if it's ideal and I could fight the fight that I'd like to fight, I would hang back and use my reach to my advantage. But that's only because most of my opponents thus far in my career have been shorter than me. Just to give our viewers a little background, my record at this point is 5-1, and that one loss that I have is actually against an opponent who is my height or a little bit taller. So that says a lot about my experience thus far in Muay Thai, I guess.
That L was sus.
It wasn't sus. He won fair and square. I take nothing away from my opponent. He was the better man that day, and not only that, he taught me a lot about what I needed to do as a fighter. So now I'm saying shout out to him for that. But there was a lot of things that went on with that particular L at that point in time that I learned a lot. Number one, he was the first dude, like I said, that was really my height, and he was the first dude that I couldn't do what I want. Now I'm saying every fighter that I fought previous to him, I basically did whatever I wanted to do, and he wasn't with it. So he was the first. Yeah, he was the first man to make me. He helped me realize a lot, and I actually appreciate him a lot for that particular L. Now I'm saying, but in the case of my last opponent, with my last fight, that was just a situation where, like I said, I just went with the flow of the fight, and he put me in a situation where I was better than him. So he was forced in a situation where I was just better than him, and to be honest, I wasn't completely happy with that fight because I didn't do what I wanted to do, which was stay on the outside and strike with him more. But it worked out in my favor this time. So,
and see, that's the thing. A lot of people can watch fights from the outsider's perspective, of course. Some people will hit you with, "Oh, you should have did it." To understand it, you really have to, one, appreciate the sport in and of itself, because you have a solid understanding of what's really happening, right? And two, you have to understand the fighter, right? So a guy like Drew, I understand his fighting style. I've watched him fight. I've watched him work out. He's an outside inside that moves quick to the inside and has these awkward punches that he has this Pacquiao punch that he twists like an uppercut cross, and I always liked it because he used to catch dudes,
Oh, I know.
right? But
Yeah,
yeah, right. And when I would
yeah,
watch all the other fighters, they all had their own niche, right? And I think that
right,
your style of fighting and the way that Vinny, and shout out to Manny, I know he just got married, man. Salute Manny Bombs. The way
salute
they
Manny,
held you,
the cartel.
yeah, for sure. The way they cultivated your training and your fighting, they really put you in a spot to use your height, your reach, those two weapons the best way that you could. And I'm glad
Right,
because that made you that much more deadlier of a fighter. I say deadly. I use that word loosely because you ain't killing nobody, but you
right,
would be hurting some people because you're able to hold that distance. You're able to strike with immense force,
right,
and I was always in awe of that
right,
because to think in a short period of time, 3-4 years, that you were able to evolve. And as you said, when you had that last fight in Delaware, that gentleman was coming for your head. That was the talk. I remember the
yes,
guys that are speaking to, like, oh, this guy's coming. He's, he got it. He got Julian's number. He's been waiting for this because he gave him that
right,
L. But
right,
you handled it well, and
right,
it speaks to your training and your focus, which is amazing.
right,
So, with that
right.
being said, where are we now? What are your plans right now for the future if and when things return to some semblance of normalcy? Do you want to immediately jump back in the ring after a few months? What is it that you're looking to do?
Oh, great question. First, let me just say, I would like to attribute a significant part of my evolution to Coach Vinny. Everything you see in a fight in some form or fashion is by design, and that's through Coach Vinny. Even those clinching engagements that I had in that last fight, a lot of it was by design, and there were tools that Coach Vinny equipped me with, and he always gives me options in every situation. That's why I always feel like I'm able to adapt because my coach equips me with options. So shout out to Coach Vinny for that. You know what I'm saying? Now, as far as my plans for the future, as I said before, I'm just staying ready, so I never got to get ready. As soon as the amateur circuit is open, I'm in there. I'm front and center. I've been fiending to fight. It's unfortunate that I can't fight, but once I can fight, I will fight as much as I can. This is my passion. This is my dream, and I just want to be a trailblazer as best as I can. So, you know, whenever it's ready, I'm ready, and that's just what it is. So if it's when we get a vaccine for the coronavirus, or if it's 2021, whatever the case may be, but I'm ready when the world is ready. So that's just what it is with me.
I hear that. I also want to talk about this as well. I see that you're involved in a lot of community items.
Right,
I know that you've taught in the school. You've given a
right,
lot of time to the children, which is an amazing thing.
right.
Can you talk to some of the things that you've been getting involved with around on Staten Island?
Oh man, I would love to. I'd love to. First and foremost,
Please.
shout out to my people, my organization, Central Family Life and True to Life. Let me shout out to some of my OGs, Malcolm Penn, Iron Mike, Tyler, among others, over at Central Family Life. We're a community help group that targets specific areas on the North Shore, primarily New Brighton, West Brighton, the town, Arlington, the harbor, all the major hoods on the North Shore. That's where we at, and we're just trying to help curb violence and help do better for the community and help be positive role models for all our brothers and sisters in under-resourced communities. So, one of the programs I've been involved with as of late is a program called T2, which is essentially a COVID response program that we essentially go out to designated areas who have been affected by COVID-19, I guess you could say the most, and who don't have a certain amount of resources. And we do what we can for the community. We give out masks, we give out hand sanitizer, things like that. Anything we could do to help the community and just ease the burden that this whole lockdown and this pandemic is causing, we try to do our best. We actually just had a great Halloween drive just yesterday where we went around each neighborhood in RVs and we gave out a whole bunch of PPEs. We gave out, candy. We gave out school supplies. and all these other things. And we'll have a whole bunch of other events planned for the future. So if you want information about that, you could just, hit me on Facebook and I'll direct you to the people who could spread all the good information. So that's just a fraction of the things that my organization does, the organization I'm associated with. They're great, great people, and they're putting their lives on the line to make Staten Island a better place for everybody, not only people in the North Shore. So they some of the realest dudes I know out there, men and women.
See, people, as you know, we started this podcast not for glitz, glamour, or glory. This podcast was meant to bring people together, get information, and exchange and build, and have a community online. Build a community out online. And we've talked to all facets of people, all walks of life. I've been wanting to have this brother on since the inception of the podcast. Things happen and whatever, but we finally got him on here. But the point I'm making to you is that Julian is not only, working a job, training, but he's also carved out a huge time to give back to his community. And that's the reason why, even above everything else, that I've wanted him to have on the show, because he clearly demonstrates that if you put your mind and your heart behind something, you can do it. So the man has a job, he trains, and he also gives of himself back to his community. And I think that it's really important that we all, at some point or another, in one way or another, give back. So, Julian, make sure before we end our discussion, or even through DM, you can send me the information behind your organization. I'd like to, promote them on the Facebook page.
Definitely got you, brother. I appreciate that.
Of course. And also, if I follow them, I can sort of see their calendar and give updates and stuff like that.
Yeah, definitely. Okay. I believe so.
Awesome. So yeah, make sure we exchange information as far as the organization is concerned.
Gotcha, brother. Appreciate that.
Of course. So, was there any point in time that you're training that you probably had an experience that you were like, you know what, I ain't gonna do this no more?
Absolutely. I was about to say absolutely, but it was never that deep. It was never that deep, but there was.
What was it? Like, can you think of a specific situation where you were like, you know what, I'm out?
There was a situation. I never wanted. That's the thing. I never ever wanted to quit. That's just me. That's just me. Like, once I start something, I gotta finish it. And my end goal has been to become a pro. And I don't quit easily. But there has been times when I was like, damn, I'm not as hot as I thought I was. It happens all the time. It happens all the time. There's ups and downs in martial arts. So there'll be days where you're feeling like the baddest man on the planet, and there's gonna be days where you're like, yo, I'm a scrub. But I'll never forget, my first down was, I want to say, a year into my martial arts career, when I was about to have my first fight. Coach Vinny came and he was like, he's ready to put me in there. And I'm actually very glad it went down this way, because I always try to learn from all my experiences, and I learned a lot from this experience. So at this point in time, and I want all our viewers to know that in the gym, as you was explaining before with the sparring situation, there's different levels of training. If you're training just to get fit, that's training at one level. But if you're training to actually fight, you're training and operating at a totally different level. All right. And the expectations that will be expected from you will be much, much higher. So at this point in time, I was transitioning from casually training to actually training to be like a fighter. So Coach Vinny Scotto came to me and he was like, let's have our first pad work session. This would be my first fight camp pad work session with Coach Vinny. And I'll never forget. We did literally one 4-minute round, and he made me throw up. Like, when I tell you he made me throw up, like, after we was done, I had to run to the bathroom and I was throwing up. And he was just like, that was only one round. Like, you got to step it up. And at this point in time, I was not doing none of the things that would be expected of a fighter. I wasn't running casually, things like that. So that was just like a big wake-up call for me. Like, damn, I thought I was doing it, but lo and behold, I wasn't doing nothing. I wasn't even scratching the surface of what was expected of an actual fighter. So like I said before, that wasn't like a moment in time where I wanted to quit. That was like a hurdle that I knew I had to get over. It was like, all right, I can't operate at this level. I have to get better. So what do I have to do to get better now? And that's when I started to do better. You know what I'm saying? Another moment, as I explained before, was when I took my first L. It was actually at a tournament. To give you some background, I was 2-0 at the time, and my opponent he was a lot more experienced than me, but that did not play a factor at all to me. I just felt
Right.
like I lost because he was the better man that day, and I didn't prepare adequately. And I'm not gonna front. Prior to the fight, I was feeling myself. It was a lot that happened with that tournament. Essentially, it was a tournament where multiple people could be in the bracket, but
Mm-hmm.
my bracket, it was only 2 people, so they moved us straight to the championship round. And
Wow.
I swore I was gonna win. I swore I was gonna win that belt. And bro just humbled me real quick. If anybody's wondering how I lost by split decision, which means that I essentially won the first round and lost the last 2. And I gassed out OD, and he just humbled me. He just gave me that
Mm.
humble pie for the second time. And that was another point in my career where it was like, all right, well, you see the level you've been operating at clearly is not the level. So it's time to step it up. And it was up from there. It was up from there. You feel me? And so I don't know. Like like I said before, I've never at no point in time felt like I wanted to quit. I
Right.
always think every day, like I honestly feel like I will be doing this until I'm your age, Big E, and even beyond that. I'm be maybe not on the professional level or
But
on
in
the
some
competitive
way,
level.
yeah.
Yeah, in some form or fashion, I'm gonna be doing martial arts. So it's like this is a life. This is life for me.
I definitely see you teaching. I can definitely see that much. Um,
Right.
that competitive spirit, I'm very familiar with. I have to salute my guy that's watching the show, Sally Sasson. He's my brother. Uh, he's definitely brought that competitiveness. He was the one that got me involved in organized sports because
Right.
unless you have a father, you really don't know nothing about that. You
Right.
don't get that push. But
Right.
he was my brother. We grew up together, and he was the one that brought me to my first organized sporting team. I played
Right.
basketball, and then we
Yeah.
did football for like years.
Right.
And lucky enough to have people like him and brothers like Ariel and my brother Joe, who were like neighborhood legends, but they also, at some way, shape, or form, found the younger bros and gave us that push to try to be competitive. When we
Right.
needed it. But I was around for a few of those sessions where Vinny would be getting somebody ready for a fight and
Mm.
break out the bucket, you know.
Yeah.
and that's and the reality is it's really not a good feeling. But like you said, it's a wake up call. It makes you realize, hey, I'm operating on a level that I thought was all good, and my body is telling me you have to step it up. If you
Mm-hmm.
really want to take that next step and get to that next level, you got to step it up because this ain't cutting it.
Right.
And it's funny because when I would see that happen, it would amaze me because I'm like, wait a minute, these are the 3 fighters that we have in the school. Like, why are they throwing up? Oh, you must have been slacking off, Joe. That's what it is. And
Yeah.
light work too, because Vinny, he makes it look like it's nothing, but he's really putting the
Yeah.
bonds to you.
Yeah.
you
OD.
know.
OD. Yeah. But
But I
my bad. My bad. Um,
no.
I was gonna say it equipped. I always appreciate it. As bad as it might look on the outside looking in, as a fighter, you learn to appreciate it because he's preparing you for the best possible situation. And
Yes,
just to give
sir.
you an example, prior to my loss, he would tell me like, you gotta do what you gotta do. You gotta run. You gotta do this. You gotta train every day. You gotta do that. And if you don't, I'm gonna know. Like if you don't, I'm gonna know. It's not like you can hide it. And then those, like as you just explained, when you seen those moments where he's beating our ass and he's breaking out the bucket, that's just the work revealing itself.
Yes,
You
sir.
know, if you're not putting in that work, you're gonna know. And at the end of the day, Coach Vinny is real enough with his fighters to expose it in the gym instead of not being real with you and gassing you and letting you go in the ring and finding out there, because that's going to be even worse. Trust me. I always tell people who are not fighters, you rather like if you hate running or you hate being tired, you want to hate that more. I mean, you want to hate getting beat up more than that, because
Hell
if you
yeah.
get tired in the ring, you could get hurt for real.
Ain't no
So
throwing up. You just gonna get
yeah,
your ass whooped.
yeah. So you gotta pick which ass whoop you want to take. You want to get your ass whooped in the ring by your coach, and then be fit for the fight, or you want to slack off when it's training camp time, and then get your ass whooped in the ring.
And that's worse because everybody's watching.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
The
Like
whole
I said,
school's out there cheering.
in that L, I had to learn it like that, man. I had to learn it like that, man.
But
And
people,
it ain't fun.
if everybody who's watching the shows right now is just listening, what you're hearing is a man who understands his limits and his lengths, and also understands that his commitment is the only thing that's going to get him to where he wants to be. Coach Vinny and Coach Manny are two great individuals, and Coach Vinny has been at this for some time. He jokes around. He does like to have laughs, but when it comes time to put in that work, there is no. The only time that there's laughter is when he's laughing at you because he, like Julian said, he's exposing you.
Fact.
There's a fighter. I forget their first fighter, the Spanish kid. I forget
Abel.
his Abel. I was gonna call him Abraham. Abel. Salute to Abel, man, because
Salute
he's
Abel.
another one that I watched too. And I used to see Vinny beat him with the pool noodle. Like when he wasn't watching, that pool noodle kind of hurts though, right? So Abel, I've seen him getting ready for fights. Man, there's no way that you can walk away from a camp with Vinny and the support of Manny and get into the ring and fall short as far as your conditioning.
Mm-mm.
There's just no way. And if
Coach
you do,
Vinny
that's
is not
on
gonna
you.
put you in. Coach
Right.
Vinny is not gonna put you in. If he doesn't feel like you're doing what you're supposed to do, he's not gonna put you in.
And that's something that I've always appreciated about him. Again, this is the same message, his honesty. He's
Right.
real about it. So people, if you consider at any point getting yourself conditioned or just training to learn how to fight, that's going to translate into the real world. Muay Thai fighting is, I have to say, is the best. Next to boxing. Boxing is going to give you the conditioning, and you won't get into that scenario until you start sparring.
Right.
Muay Thai is just a little bit different. Just a little different. Kicking them pads, your shins go home glowing. Them virgin shins of yours in the first first 2 or 3 weeks. You just go all red and burning.
Right.
Or when you're doing clinch class, and somebody forgets you a freshman and they throw you down. I used to have to give fair warning. Yo, Julian, don't throw me. I'm an old man. I might break a hip. And I was serious. I was real. And Julian was nice enough not to throw me to the ground. But these brothers, man, listen. But the point I'm making is it's a real world fighting style. So if you take Muay Thai after, 8 months, a year, you will have a grasp on how to take care of yourself in the street. Now, I'm not going to say you're going to be disarming people that have knives.
No.
But in a hand-to-hand confrontation, you could really hurt somebody.
Yeah, you straight.
Right. So, Julian, let me ask you this. Overall, over the last 5 years in this journey that you've been in, what are some of the things that you reflect on admirably? What are some of the things that you look back on your training, in your fights, and your accomplishments, and are really happy about? Because we could talk about the bad shit all day long.
Right.
But what are the things that you're most proud of in this journey in Muay Thai that you've accomplished for yourself?
I have to say what I'm most proud of thus far is all the times I've overcome the mental adversity, and I attribute that a lot to my coaches and my peers, Coach Manny, Coach Vinny, Coach Nate, Drew, all the fight team, Catherine. There's so many people to name that, but all my team, if you're watching, you know who you are, Coach Jay, everybody. There's been a lot of times where I did not fully believe it or not. There was a lot of times where I shouldn't say I didn't fully believe, but I had that inclination of doubt when it came to my opponent, where I might have been physically intimidated, or I might have felt like I didn't train to the proper capacity that I needed to defeat that particular opponent. And, my coaches were always in my corner. Coach Manny was always one of those dudes who would always tell me like, "Yo, you could do it." Now I'm saying, no matter what I was thinking, like Coach Manny just has this way about him where he can say something to you and you're gonna believe it. Like you're gonna believe it. Like every time I felt doubt about a particular opponent, about whether my skills matched up with him. If Coach Manny came up to me and told me like, "Yo, you could beat him," and that's it, I believed it. Like Manny said I could beat him, I could beat him, and he was right all of those times. You feel me? He was right all of those times. So definitely for me, my proudest moments had to be um, overcoming my own mental adversity, and also whenever I said I wanted to do something and I did it. I appreciate those times. Like I reflect on my career, like I'm 5-1 at this point. I just remember before every win, I was saying like, "Yo, I'm gonna get this dub," and then I got the dub. You feel me? Of course, with the exception of that one time. And with that being said, I gotta say, like in my 5-1 career, um, the one time that I felt the most confident was the one time that I lost.
Mm.
And every other time where I felt the most nervous, that's when I had my best performance. Like yeah, when I was the fight where I was the most nervous and I was the most fearful, I had my best performance. So that in and of itself is something to be proud of for me. It's just a reaffirmation of that I can do anything I put my mind to.
Yeah, being overconfident sometimes can hurt your game, and
Yeah,
I definitely understand where you're coming from.
right,
In that area, it definitely can take you to a bad place where
right,
you should be fully confident in your skill set, your training and conditioning,
right,
and not looking at an opponent and going, "Oh, I'm gonna wash this dude." You
right.
know, those are two different vehicles to be riding around
Mentality.
in as a fighter, right?
Also,
Um,
what it is, big bro, that I learned that, and it's funny too, because I learned this from my last fight. I was talking with a champion. She's 19, but she's one of the best female fighters in her age group in the country right now. Her name is Tiara Bryant, and
okay.
I was talking with her, and I was picking her brain. And this is just I'm in her presence because of Vinny Scotto, because Vinny is a thorough Muay Thai dude, and he's gonna put you in the presence of dudes who are official in this sport. So and she was just I was talking with her and then she helped me realize something that the feeling that I identified as fear might not actually even be fear. It might just be excitement. And that excitement, you know, that excitement comes from also a level of respect that you get from your opponent, and you need that level of respect. And when I reflect on my loss, sometimes I think like, did I have the adequate amount of respect for my opponent? And
Mm.
now, whenever I approach a fight, I always have that amount of respect. I always look at someone. I look at everybody like they're coming for my head, and they come to take the throne, and they can't take my crown. So it's like but they can if I let them. But I just can't let them. You know what I'm saying? That's all what it is for me.
That's a really interesting point that you brought up, which I believe that fighting in and of itself, you have to have respect, right?
Yeah, you better.
Right. But today, to sell fights, there's all this disrespectful stuff that goes on,
Yeah,
and for me, I get it. Somebody has to be the heel, right?
yeah,
But ultimately, I believe fighters and fighting would be more entertaining if fighters express that respect for one another, right?
right.
I've seen, you know, Last Stylebender fight the spider at the end, like not only bowing but almost crying, right?
Yeah, yeah. Seen
And
that.
and and it speaks volumes to whereas you see guys like that clown talking about he's the best fighter and just like the best president, all that. I don't enjoy that.
Right,
I really don't. But I really I can relate to what you're saying in that I think that fighters should always have a level of respect when they step in the ring and when it's all done. And
right.
it's a beautiful thing that you brought that up, especially being that you're such a young fighter. A lot of guys your age they don't want to have respect for anybody, right? And in the martial arts, even more so because it's the discipline. It just speaks to who you become as you go through your journey. So
Right.
you, man, for me, I think that you have all the makings of a great fighter, an up and coming fighter, and I think that you have not only the discipline, but you've gone through these experiences in your life that have brought you to this place that should carry you further in your journey as a fighter. And I think that you have not only the solid foundation as far as your team, but the backing of your experience that's going to bring you to where you want to go. And I have a question for you. In the future, if it was possible, would you ever think about going to Thailand to train and or fight?
Oh, that is going to happen.
Really?
Going to happen. That's something that has to happen. I feel like as a martial artist, I have to have a martial arts exodus, and what better place to have my exodus than the motherland of my martial arts? So that is something that's gonna happen. I don't know when, but it's something that will definitely happen. I have to do it. I just feel like I have to do it. Yeah. So it's gonna happen. Yes, definitely.
Do you think they'll be able to find somebody that's at least your height to fight though? Because
Uh,
Thailand, the average height is like 5'4", 5'4".
so how it's probably gonna work is I'm not gonna go out there and fight a Thai. When I say a
Okay.
Thai, for all our viewers, that's someone who is from Thailand, someone who was born in Thailand. I'm probably gonna go out there and fight another foreigner like myself.
Mm.
I've already inquired with someone about this who is from Thailand, who's knowledgeable about this, and he made it clear to me that it would be hard for someone of my stature to get a lot of fights, but it's not impossible. So if anything, I'm gonna go out there just to train and get to really soak in the culture and see what it's really about from that perspective. But it's all a means to the ends, man. I'm gonna go out there, I'm gonna learn what I have to learn. I'm gonna come back and I'm gonna spread my knowledge and use my skills to the best of my ability, man.
Yeah, I think that exodus and taking that trip would do you a world of good as far as training is concerned.
Right,
Because it's so their fighting is is the same but different. There's a lot
yeah,
of different aspects that they use out there that don't translate here and they're not allowed here.
right,
But I still believe having those training aspects in your arsenal will broaden your game, right?
right, definitely.
Uh,
Excuse
so,
me.
people, if you're just joining us, I'm your host, Mr. A. This is the set. We are speaking to Julian, the Thundercat Ansah, talking about his journey as an athlete from high school and then making his way into the world of Muay Thai, becoming a fighter, experiencing wins and losses, maintaining his mental state, and keeping on the right track to just becoming a better fighter and a better martial artist. Julian, so we're at this point. We're in lockdown. What are some of the things that you're hopeful for now? Now that you're in this position, you're 4-1, correct?
5-1.
Five. Well, let me get it right. 5-1. You're 5-1. W- Are they still on track to try to bring Muay Thai into the Olympics?
Ooh, that's a great question. I don't even know because a lot of the things that I was expecting to happen was going to happen in 2021. So I would
Right.
imagine that everything is going to get pushed back. However, to my understanding, it just seems like the whole amateur Muay Thai scene is just on pause. Like everything that has to do pertaining to amateurs and a lot of the pros, for that matter, is just you can't really do nothing with it because as far as the coronavirus goes and the lockdown goes, it's different state to state. So your state might be good, but you might get matched up with the opponent whose state is bad. And
Mm.
as I said before, gyms have been closing down rapidly. And with a potential second lockdown looming, it probably wouldn't be the wisest thing to set something up just for everybody to get locked down again, and then we're essentially scrambling again. So it's just a big pause, unfortunately. And I myself don't have too much information about
Right.
when something is going to open up. That's why I've just adapted the mindset that I just got to stay ready. So when they do open up, I'm stepping through the door,
Mm.
and it's just lit.
Hungry.
Yeah, that's it.
Well, I'll tell you what. Hopefully, in the very near future, let's say spring, summer,
Ooh, I would
you
love
know,
it.
the weather's beautiful, right? We can get to see you in a fight.
Hmm.
I think everybody, not only in the audience, but I know just on the island, the following that's there, would love to see you get back in the ring,
Right.
especially with the hunger that you have.
Right.
I know you fitting to put in that work,
Yes,
and,
baby.
and let everybody see the skill set has not lost one little glimmer in its armor.
Mm-mm.
So before we go, is there anything that you would like to tell the audience? Um, Words of wisdom, announcements, things that that you think they should get involved in as far as the community is concerned? Anything. The floor is
Mm.
yours.
Thank you very much. First and foremost, I would like to thank the host, Big E, Ernest, for giving me the opportunity to step on his platform and just, giving me the exposure. I want to thank him. I would like to thank my gym, Staten Island Muay Thai, for helping me become a better person. Now, Legion Muay Thai, they just, all around, they made me a better person, and they've just added value to my life in so many ways that I can't explain. So I just want to thank the organization, Vinny Scotto, Nate, Manny, and everybody else who's involved with that. I would like to thank shout out my neighborhood, Staten Island, New Brighton specifically, from New Brighton to West Brighton to Park Hill to Stapleton, all my friends and family that associate with me. I thank y'all for supporting me. And I would just like to end it by saying it's a quote by Rene Descartes. He was a French philosopher, and the quote goes, "Cogito ergo sum," and that essentially means "I think, therefore I am." And I believe that quote wholeheartedly, man. Whatever you think, whether you think you can or you cannot, you're probably right. So your mind is the ultimate weapon. So of all the limbs that I have, I say I have 8 weapons in this Muay Thai thing, but my main weapon is my mind. So keep your mind sharp, and you can do anything you put your mind to, people.
You heard it here first. Julian, the Thundercat Ansah. Julian, my brother, it was amazing, enlightening, and I can't thank you enough for coming on the show. You know we've been speaking about this for quite some time. I'm
Right.
glad we were able to finally make it happen.
Same, brother.
In the future, in the near future, we'll have you back on the show. We'll
Yeah.
catch up. We'll see what's going on with you.
Right.
And maybe this time we can have somebody else from the school and we can make this a three-way conversation.
Right.
So I'll be
Hopefully by
reaching.
that time, I'm a whole full-fledged champion, E.
Listen,
It's going to happen.
you already know what it is.
Right.
We're going to support. We're going to be there. If you fight for a belt, you better holler at your boy so we can get out there and see that and make it happen, you know?
Got you, Big E.
All right. It was a pleasure having you. I'll be speaking to you soon, brother.
Yo, salute. Stay up, brother.
You already know. People, I've been trying to have this brother on the show for quite some time. Julian is an amazing athlete, an amazing young man. He's come a very long way. He's put in a lot of work. I had the pleasure of taking a knee to the liver at one point, working out with Julian. Aside from that, he's always been very helpful, very forward in trying to help people's development in the school. And he's always somebody you could count on when you're in the gym, you know? So I'm hoping that everybody got a full understanding about who he is, what he's done as a fighter, and who he is as a person. You know, a lot of fighters today don't have the integrity or the ability to learn from their mistakes. And as you can see, you know, Mr. Ansah has come a long way, leaving school, you know, leaving it as an athlete, not being able to pursue his dreams in college as a football player, but he made lemonade out of the lemons that he was dealt. And I have a lot of admiration and respect for the young brother. So I hope everybody enjoyed the show. But just remember, Wednesday, November 4th at 7:30 p.m., Sunset Park's own singer, actress Jeannie So. We're going to continue profiling people from the neighborhood who went on to do things and follow their passions, and I hope everybody could join us for that. The following Sunday, November 8th at 7:30 p.m., artist James Squatch Joyce. As I told you before, if you want, go on YouTube, check out his music. He is a very interesting personality to begin with, but he's a real amazing artist, and I hope everybody can join us for that episode. And then on Sunday, November 15th at 7:30 p.m., let's talk about cannabis with Chef Swan and Marcus Alfinez. Listen, we are going to cover all bases. We're going to discuss all topics, and I just hope that everybody is enjoying the content. If you have any suggestions, criticisms, or you just want to be a jerk, and send me an email at the set 6145 at gmail. I'm here to listen to you. We will be bringing up a call-in feature very soon. So people will have the ability to call into the show. So if you want to take part in that, stay tuned because that's coming as well. Okay, so as you know, live the life you love the life you live. Everybody stay safe out there. Let's see what this week brings. Hopefully we'll get some good news in the next couple of days. And Miss Morales, I love you too. You guys enjoy the rest of your week. Be careful out there. Be safe, and we'll see you on Wednesday.